Are you good?
Good evening. Today is Thursday, October 17th in the Environmental Advisory Council. First order of business is call to order. All right, roll call. Jana Cravanas. Here. Cindy Mahalo. Here. Joseph Pinto.
Here.
Dave Galush.
Here.
Sheila O'Sullivan Feeney, present. All are here. Moment of silence. And we do have, take note that our township manager, Steve Neese, is on Zoom call. Steve, we hope you're feeling better. You sound, I heard you the other night in the meeting. You poor thing, you don't sound well, but thank you for being here.
Hopefully I sound better tonight.
You actually do sound better. Good. All right. So
Thank you.
moment of silence. And if we can, have any special attention, so you think of those. Pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Item number 4, consider approving the agenda. Steve, before we approve the agenda, I just want to clarify. I understand since we just got the information about the Village of Four Seasons, we're going to have a chance to look at that in November. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And the other question is Stony Knoll.
Wait, before we move on that, Steve, I just want to confirm that I believe Mara told me that the Planning Commission is going to review that at its meeting on Tuesday, November 26th, which is the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. Normally, they would have met on Thursday, but because it's Thanksgiving, it'll be Tuesday.
Yes.
And our meeting is the prior Thursday. So it's very tight timing.
Yeah,
but-
but your information really needs to go before the board. This is a hearing. It's very different than it's really kind of different than a normal process of what it is as a conditional use hearing. So
Therefore,
and
what's your
again,
timing and the
excuse
process.
me.
What is the timing? What process should
So
we?
we have 45 days to start the hearing, which is for the board. So the board may actually start the hearing at its meeting on that Monday. I don't know yet. We'll be requesting an extension. If the applicant grants an extension, we're probably asking for extension into January, just to give us, just because of the holidays, trying to pass the budget and everything else like that. All that being said, yes, I think that it will be before the Planning Commission that Tuesday. But your comments really need to be prepared for the board for the public hearing.
So we will have that on Thursday, November 21st. And so
Correct.
Totally. And from what I understand, this is a conditional use, right? Not a land development review for him?
That is correct. It's a very specific, as I understand it, it's conditional use, and my understanding it's related to steep slopes.
Great. All right. So we will address that on our November agenda. No worries. My other question is regarding the supervisors meeting on Monday night. Stony Knoll came up again, and I understand that they're asking for a waiver. So we were just debating whether we wanted to have, although it won't go through the land development review process, and I understand the applicant, the supervisors did the right thing in having their engineers review their plans. We just wanted to, we were concerned with some of the stormwater changes that this applicant was making, and we understand that they are requesting a waiver. Will we have a chance to comment on that in November, or do we need to kind of maybe speak separately and then send in some type of letter regarding Stony Knoll? Because it's not a formal land development review, and I'm sure that last thing they want us to do from the developers is for EAC to comment in. But since so many, and as you know, we spent nearly a year and a half working on this particular property, and a lot of the things that we were promised or concerned from the previous applicant have changed. So we just want to kind of have a chance to express some concern on this.
What is your concern?
I guess the biggest issue was previously, this applicant had mentioned that they weren't, that those size that they gave us, roughly the 12,300 square feet of impervious surface, that was the footprint of the foundation of the home, as well as the driveways. And in most cases, those driveways were like 6,300 square feet. The applicant in one particular property increased on lot 9 from 12,300 square feet to 19,335 square feet, which was roughly
Yep.
a 7,000. And he already got the permit on that across the board. So this applicant is, instead of going case by case, he's asking for an additional 1,900 square feet for each property to protect the individual, and maybe in future developers or individual properties who want custom homes to have additions added. We were concerned because the infiltration beds were part of the design for stormwater management. We were concerned that some of those infiltration beds could be eventually ripped out because they weren't they weren't locked into the deed in perpetuity. We also did express concerns with the applicant about.
Wait, before you go any further. Why do you think the infiltration beds can be taken out?
Oh, because they're moving, we're not saying they are, we're saying that their applicant is increasing 1,900 square feet for each, he's putting in a general buffer for each home as protection. But in his comments on Monday night, he said this use of these properties, the utility of the lot has increased. And he said this does not include potential pools, pool houses, or patios.
Well,
And
I think the idea of the 1,900 square feet is to cover that.
well, that's what we wanted to clarify, because we did
So
ask.
here's what I will tell you is going to happen. At least here's what I think is going to happen. I think they're going to get waiver of land development, because really what they're doing is no different than if any one of you came in and said, I want to put an addition on my house. I'm going to add a pool and a pool house in my backyard. And you would be entitled to do that. The difference is that most of these people that are buying these houses are spending more money up front, and
Yes.
they're going ahead and doing it at the time in which they buy their house.
Right.
And so that's the difference. And what they're going to have to do in order for the review is they're going to have to come back with a design of what they're going to do in each location. And each one of these extra 1,900 square feet will all be on lot stormwater management. They're not touching, at least this is what they're saying right now. And if this changes, then that may not allow them to get the waiver, but they're not changing the existing stormwater management systems that were put in to handle the roadway and the public improvements that were done.
Right.
So Steve, I have a question. I'm sorry, I have a question. So as part of that, asking for the ability to have 1,900 square feet more of development, will there need to be a corresponding expansion or enlargement of the stormwater management system on each property?
Yes.
That's a lot more impervious surface. And is that going to be part and parcel of it? And will that go?
Yeah, they have to. So they can't just expand without doing larger stormwater management. And so, as he mentioned Monday night, many of these beds will either have to be expanded, or they will have to be made deeper. I mean, like either expanded in width, or they'll be made deeper. And for example, I think he mentioned, I'm sorry, I think he mentioned lot 11. They were actually making the stormwater bed, I don't know,
6 inches.
6 inches deeper to handle that additional stormwater.
Right. Well, I think what we were just talking about, Steve, is this particular property, when they were doing their driveway designs, and a lot of them had the horseshoe designs, we had asked them to consider using pervious materials instead of impervious materials. So that's what we were looking at, making recommendations. And there was no protection, from what I understand, in final acceptance, that the infiltration beds that would be for each individual property, we had no guarantee, at least that I can recall, that they were going to stay with the property and the deed it could be that you're saying this will stay with the property forever, because that was our concern. If they come
Well,
in,
any stormwater management that you put in, so if you, if, so if you're building a new house and you put stormwater management in, just assume that somebody came in as a single lot, just to kind of make it simple if I can. Somebody came in, I have a single lot and I put in stormwater management. There is a stormwater management agreement that goes with that piece of property. The stormwater management that's being put in has to be maintained. All of that gets filed with that piece of property. It's part of their deed.
right,
Excuse me. So that the homeowner does not have the right to take that stormwater piece out once we've required them to put it in. That's going to be the exact same thing here. The only difference is there is 3 stormwater management pieces that are community-wide that must be maintained in
Yeah.
addition to whatever's done on each property to manage stormwater from that property.
all right. Well, we are looking at, you're saying that this won't go back before the Board of Supervisors until later?
I'm saying that for the waiver, it has to go back before the Board of Supervisors.
Right.
The supervisors are the only ones that can issue a waiver.
I guess the EAC is just concerned because of the nature of this property, its location to the wetlands, and the overall impact to Echo Valley and that community. And I know there is an NPDES permit on it, which is very good. But I guess we were concerned because there was a couple things that we were told that they would do, they didn't in fact, which was consideration of the pervious surface versus the impervious. So I guess that was our concern, and we just wanted to maybe get a chance if the EAC, although it won't be a land development, we might want to just at least express some concerns to the supervisors or make them aware of some concerns. And they're
You're
doing,
allowed to express concern. That's not a problem.
okay, and we do appreciate greatly that the supervisors did request that our engineers review the plans, and we think that was very appropriate for them to do. All right, so we won't need to add that to our agenda. All right, so then item number 4.1, considering approving the agenda. Motion made with Joe Pinto to approve the agenda, seconded by, I'm gonna do Dave on that one because Cindy's gonna get another. Seconded by Dave Galush. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, item number 5, public comments for agenda items only. Since there's no one in the public, there is no opportunity for public comment. Item number 6.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes.
Oh, Joe Pinto is making motion to consider approving the minutes from our September 19th meeting, seconded by Cindy Mahalo.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion stands. Presentation update number 7, nothing at this time. We are going on to item number 8, land development review. Update, discussion, and possible action regarding our revised plans for 4605 West Chester Pike, the Boiron Logistics Center. All right. Great news is we had dug in deep to this property last month, and since this time, we have seen the revised plans for Boiron. So the most important thing is that the property has moved out of the riparian buffer. So they're no longer requesting the 40-foot riparian buffer, so there'll be of complying with the 50-foot riparian buffer. So that is great. And our overall general comments from this, Cindy, do you want to add anything to it? We really dug in deep on this. Anything else from last month on Boiron? Steve, do you want to give us any update on anything new in addition to the riparian buffer on this particular property?
That was probably the largest, I mean, that was probably the biggest impact of their change. They took into account a lot of the things that were mentioned. I do think they're looking at how to have public access or walking access from West Chester Pike down to that location.
Yes.
Within the site. I think there's a few other things that they looked at related to the parking, and I think they're even still answering some questions related to the fire truck weight on the pervious pavement in the back. And
Yes,
so,
and I did also understand that they were very sensitive to our concern regarding evergreens around the generators to make sure we protected sound. They were sensitive to our concerns regarding lighting and
Yeah,
making-
they're working on all of those things when I had the conversation with them.
Okay, Cindy Mahalo, you have some questions, Cindy.
Actually, Janet.
Oh, Janet Gravano.
Yes, because they did submit their lighting plan. And looking over it, I could not see that for the streetlights, that there were any downward covers on these streetlights proposed, which is part of our proclamation. I know it's not mandatory, but our proclamation on lights out, that how the streetlights are constructed, as well as lights being on timers and dimmers and warm colored lighting to correlate with color temperatures of less than 2200 degrees Kelvins. So I would ask them to look back at the structures that they have planned there. We could see the picture of it and see if they couldn't have downward facing covers on them.
Okay, 'cause we
I-
did
and
have
then
that in our letter last month.
Yes,
Right.
yes, we
So-
asked that, and to add on to what Janet has commented on, I would more broadly state that there were 2 documents provided by the applicant that referred to the lighting. As far as I could tell, both of them dealt with street lighting, both of them dated from 2004,
Right.
and they were not very specific at all. They lacked quite a bit of information, specifically the type of things that Janet mentioned. And there was no lighting plan provided that I could see for the actual new logistics center itself, for
Right.
the building lights and for the parking lot lights. So I feel that it was nice that they provided those 2 documents, but they're old and incomplete. And I think we're still missing some information on the lighting plan.
All right, so we did already sketch out the comment letter from last month. We went into details. The only thing that really needs to be changed from the comment letter we crafted last month was just,
This is assuming that we're gonna send another one, right?
well, yes, because this is important that we actually remember, we held on to this.
Yeah, well, then I would say that, just what I would say is, thank you for the 2 lighting plans, but they're incomplete and old, and we'd like to see new, at least newer and more specific information about the streetlights and information about the property itself.
Right. So we can remove our concern about the riparian buffer. And then we also, any other issues that we discussed,
It seemed to me, because when I read their response to the engineer's letter, which I was going to print out, but it was 14 pages. I don't know if you can pull it up, Tim. But when the engineer, they responded to the engineer's concern, there was one specific area where the engineer had commented about the proximity of the retaining wall to the parking lot, which was over the detention basin. Can you pull that up, Tim?
what page is that?
Okay, it's the thing that says redacted. I think it's the very last one. Yep. And to me, it just seemed evasive. It seemed like they were kicking the can down the road and that they didn't really address the engineer's concern. And to me, that's kind of fundamental to the entire structure of the back of the building, because they've got the building, they've got this big retaining wall that comes right up to this parking lot that is over the detention basin that's near the stream. And they said, the gist of, can you find it, Tim? The gist of their response was, yeah, we'll get back to you on that. And I just wondered if that was satisfactory to the engineer. I would have to come over and take a look at that. Yeah. But just stop.
I think what you're referring to
This one right here.
is, because I was talking with the engineer this afternoon. I don't remember what number it was in the plan.
Cindy said it was number 16.
Okay, number 16. Yeah, so I think that his concern was how close that wall was to, and how that wall would be installed without impacting the riparian buffer, as well as how it would have, what the impact would be with the stormwater management up above like that. And so the answer is, you know, if they say that they're going to comply and they're not going to do it, they're not going to encroach into the riparian buffer, and they're going to be able to build the wall so it'll maintain, even with the water retainage of the wall, the retainage of the stormwater. They can say that we'll comply. I think he and my concern, and I think this is what you're pointing out, Cindy, is it doesn't say that. It just says that more will be provided for the final approval for the permit. And so the engineer likewise has that concern and is addressing it.
Good. Okay. Well, I guess also, Steve, I did mention a concern that it sounds as though from this stormwater plan that this was designed for a 2-year storm event. Is that all they're required to do?
My understanding is that whatever, and I don't know it.
Yeah, and that's, to me, is like astonishing, only because
What happens in North Carolina?
Yeah.
Sheila, this, I think, goes to the state.
1,000 years.
I think this goes to the state's stormwater management program.
Yeah.
I think that is the standard,
yeah.
I
and-
was gonna say, I'm pretty sure that's a standard.
and that is the standard.
Well, and the other concern was that the infiltration bed, it said that the infiltration test, it will be 72 hours within the infiltration volume will be complete within 3 days from the end of the storm. So if we're putting 72 hours after the storm in an area that's already inundated, to me, it's a little concerning. Because the wall's there, we're holding water in an area, and we're, a 2-year storm. Is there any way, I know if you're saying that they're only having to design to a 2-year storm, could we, since they're asking for additional request and consideration, could we ask them to go up higher without having to force them to do it?
Well, you can always ask, but I mean, there's no reason, like, there's nothing that's requiring them to do more. And I can't force them to do more.
Yes. Well, it is a concern, and for us to design for a 2-year storm, when some, when best management practices are telling EACs to be looking out for 500-year storms and 1,000-year storms. And, that's what they're asking us to consider. So it's just a little concerning for me. So we'll again address that in our comments letter, Cindy. And
Just to be fair to the developer, that may be a comment that really needs to go to the board. And, saying, look, as we look at the future, should we be looking at doing something differently? Because the developer's only designing to what our requirements are.
Exactly. And it's something that you're right. We can bring that attention to the board, but these are examples that will help highlight and let the board become aware of how kind of concerning that is, especially in light of the 2 hurricanes. I mean, Milton and Helena have shown us how things can quickly get out of control. So that's something we could bring up. Cindy, everything else that we discussed on this particular property, everything else from last month is pretty much the same, correct?
Yeah.
Anything else, Joe, anything else on this, Dave, for this particular property? Janet, your concerns regarding the lighting were in the comment letter from last month. We'll make sure that they are brought to their attention. And I think we can acknowledge the fact that the developer did listen to everyone's concerns regarding the requirement of holding 2 to a 50-foot repairing buffer. We can also let them know that they were lucky that they were getting under the wire, because that now has moved to a 100-foot repairing buffer. So we're all grateful for that. All right, so Cindy will draft the comment letter regarding our concerns. We will send that in tomorrow. We understand it will be going to the Board of Supervisors, but we will be at the Planning Commission just to let them know how concerned we are.
Steve, does that have to be in tomorrow?
We want it to get to planning, it does.
Sorry, I turned off my mic. No, it doesn't have to be in tomorrow. It will be going before the board. I think the first meeting in November, so that would be you're gonna have to in a week before that.
Okay, well, no, I've got a very busy Friday and Saturday with the tree plantings, but,
Wait,
Yeah.
Steve, you're saying that the logistics center is not going to go before the supervisors in October? It's going to go in November now?
It hasn't completed through planning. Until it completes through planning, it can't go before the board.
Right, I understand it's going before planning, but I understood that they were going to, planning is getting its look at it next week, the 24th.
And
And
that's not enough time from the 24th to the Monday, the 28th, for the
Okay.
board to have a chance to review the planning commissions and your all's comments.
okay, great. All right. So we can expect this to go before the Board of Supervisors in November then. All right. And
and my goal will be to wrap it up and get it out by next Tuesday.
Great. All right, so that is regarding Boiron. So a motion was made that Cindy Mahalo would draft a letter regarding our concerns that we stated last month and this month. And we will get that off to the Board of Supervisors. Motion was made by Sheila O'Sullivan Feeney, seconded by Jennifer Cavanagh. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Right, perfect. All right, future land development review. We'll have a busy month next month, but nothing this particular month. New business. These are good things. We are considering approving $250 for the maintenance of replenishing the diseased plants at the rain gardens. Cindy, you want to give a real quick recap on that? We already have funds available for this, and this was part of our plans.
Yeah, we discovered that there is, phytoplasm that has killed the, purple coneflower, which is a dominant species in the rain garden. We immediately removed the plants. Based on the research that we did, we've determined that they had to be removed. It would be fatal and they cannot be replanted. So we have some big gaps in the garden that need to be replanted. So I've been researching options. This particular issue affects 300 species of plants. So there's a lot of things that are taken
It's
off the
aster.
table.
Mhm.
It's the whole aster family.
Yes.
So I'm still researching other options, but I'm looking into inexpensive ways to fill the gaps. I might be able to obtain some plugs through the master watershed stewards. We might be able to divide some existing plants. We're now to the maturity of the garden where we are doing seed collecting and we can try to spread the seeds around. But we do have bare dirt there that we're gonna have to put some kind of mulch down. And also, now that we have these huge bare areas, the deer are going in there and bedding down and trampling the adjacent plants, and they're gonna start doing more destruction. So I'm thinking that as much as I would rather not to, the Nell rain garden, I think needs to be fenced and netted throughout the winter
For that, right.
to keep the
And then
deer
the
out.
planting would take place in the spring then of the.
No, I'm
replacement,
gonna
or
plant
would it
this
be-
fall.
Okay.
Yeah,
And it'll be
Okay.
much better. The roots will get established over the winter. So this is something I'm gonna try to do.
Okay,
in the
so
next
a motion was made,
Okay.
and we do have this in our funding. We're gonna be allocating $250 for rain garden. We're gonna put it under the maintenance to purchase the plugs and or additional plants. But Cindy, as you know, this will have to be budgeted, expensed in 2024 because that's when the thing is.
yeah.
A motion was made for Cindy, for the rain garden, $250 expense for these plants, for the plugs and additional supplies if mulch is needed, et cetera. For this motion was made by Cindy Mahalo, seconded by
Second.
Dave Belush. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion stands. Perfect.
Okay, and on the rain garden, let me just show you guys, that Janet and some of the other volunteers were
Yeah.
present for the presentation of this.
Awesome.
Leonard came down with Lucia.
Yeah.
Isn't that her name, Lucia? So it was nice. It was
Perfect,
Yeah.
great, and well done to everyone involved. The Green gardens are important.
We're looking for a place where these things can be displayed for people who are coming into the township building to be able to recognize that.
Yeah, a couple people have asked me, what am I gonna do with this? And I said, I don't know, because Janet got the Birdtown Gold certification a couple years ago. And we got the township got the sustainable PA silver level, I think. And I think the township has gotten commended for its financial planning or things like that.
Right.
So like, is there an award cabinet or wall or something?
Trophy case.
Trophy case.
Yeah,
I love it.
well,
Or-
in the front vestibule could really use some of these accolades, Steve. So if you want to, kind of build that in your
Just
area
to
or,
think about.
Yeah, we've been using the hallway between the police department and the library for a lot of that, but we can look and see if there's another spot as
yeah,
well.
I think that front area definitely would need some TLC, and these would be great things to have. Think so. Should we get them to your office, Steve, and you'll?
You can deliver them to the office and somebody will address it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, item number 10.2. This is discuss possible action to approve spending $160. This is to purchase 6 lawn signs, and if you'll see they're outside, we already, this will be promoting best management practices for fall garden maintenance and sustainable native plants such as leave the leaves, save the stalks, etc. The signs will be placed around the township's vegetative native plants in the winter, the township's front entrance and the grain gardens and the pollinator gardens. They'll be placed in the fall, removed in the spring by EAC members, and we have the budgets for this. So it's, I did give you an example. Tim, if you could pull up this sign, yeah, this is an example of it. And this is really great. It falls under public education. It's important because we're helping educate why you want to leave the leaves, why you want to have your garden be prepared for overwintering for bugs and helps with that. So a motion was made for $160 to purchase these signs that will be used. We need to, because we're purchasing them.
Oh,
When
we budget for it, it doesn't count.
You have to still, even though we budgeted for it again,
Really?
even
It's
though.
appropriated and then you have to vote.
I know,
Okay.
so
Like
the
in
motion's
Congress.
made.
Yeah.
We're spending $160 of taxpayers' money, so we
Yeah.
want to make sure that we're being very diligent and proper in our spending. We want to make sure that anything we purchase is in the best interest of the community. So a motion was made by Sheila O'Sullivan Feeney to approve spending $160 for these lawn signs, seconded by Joe Pinto. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion was made. Awesome. All right, number 10.3. We are rolling around today. Awesome. Now, this is item discussion on possible action to approve $75 for the sustainable treats for the EAC members to give out at the fall trick or treat community day at the firehouse. We're going to highlight sustainability in these treats. And we were originally asked to be there as a community table. We didn't know we had to give out treats in addition. So we're going to add that to it. I've given a lot of money of myself, and usually I would be buying this myself. But my husband's budget, we have decided that we can no longer just fund everything that the EAC needs. So we're going to ask that the $75 expense for these sustainable treats and fruits will be covered. And this is available through our EAC funds. And anything that will be left over from that can be given to the library for their, for any of their community events. So a motion was made by Joe Pinto, seconded by Janet Cabanas, that we will approve $75 or less in sustainable treats for the community outreach table for the fall trick or treating on Saturday, October 26th at the fire company. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion stands. Awesome.
Sheila and you and I will be at that table.
Yes. Are you going to dress up like in a costume?
I'm gonna wear my Birdtown shirt.
Good. Well, then maybe you could be a bird, or maybe
You
we
could
can
be
be
a
a flower.
bird.
You could be a bird and I'll be a flower or something. We'll figure something out. But we should definitely be something environmentally. And believe me, with our treats, we want to be conscious about what we're giving out. And it gives us an opportunity
Yes,
to
right.
discuss, and I actually did reach out to some of our sustainable Newtown Square Green business, ask them if they want to give out coupons or something. So we have 2 of them that might do that. And they'll give out a sustainable treat to any trick-or-treaters that go to their businesses. All right, item number 10.4, discussion of possible action on the Newtown Square and Bloom EAC's fall shrub planting this weekend. Cindy, last call for volunteers.
Yeah. To recap, we're planting 63 native trees and shrubs along Goshen Walking Trail and 300 daffodils. And we'll plant half of these on Friday afternoon with 15 corporate volunteers who are being recruited and coordinated through CRC Watershed Association. And then on Saturday morning, we have over 40 community volunteers who have signed up. We've got 6 of those are tree tenders who will help supervise that. And I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be, you can still sign up if you want to come out. Just go to the township website and then you'll look around. I think it's in the news item there. And you can go on Sign Up Genius and sign up. I'm going to be asking people when they check in how they heard about the event so that we can start to get some insight into what's most effective in recruiting volunteers. We did try something new, which was to place laminated recruitment flyers around the trail, the beginning of the trail, the end of the trail. So
I saw
Yeah.
one was put in my neighborhood and I was gonna put one up and
Oh, good.
someone beat me to the punch. I don't know who put
So
it there. So that I was putting them up on the other mailboxes,
Okay.
the public
Good.
mailboxes, you know, around the, yeah, so it's good, yeah.
yeah, so I'm hoping
Yeah.
like, if people say I saw the flyer, we'll know. Also I've been talking to Kathy Cavalier about opening the Square Tavern at 11. So that as volunteers leave, they'll be invited to stop in and see that historical building. She's
Awesome.
gonna have seasonal snacks.
Ooh.
And there is gonna be an article about this in this month's
E-newsletter,
newsletter,
yes.
which I guess should be out soon or.
Tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah, and the tack I'm taking with that is that this is really even more than a tree planting. It's an ecological restoration. It's a habitat restoration. Because just today, they removed, I would say, over 30 invasive shrubs of privet and burning bush and things like that. So they're getting rid of these invasive shrubs and they're going to replace them with native shrubs. As a fallout from this, in trying to recruit these volunteers, I had contact with the community service director at Episcopal Academy, and she counter proposed with offering us a team of 9 ninth graders who could come for half a day as their fall community service project. And I said, great. So they came out yesterday morning.
Awesome.
And they worked at Gable Park and Dave Hilbert supervised them and they cleaned around the trees and mulched the trees and recaged the trees. And I met them and spoke with them for about 15 minutes and explained watersheds, riparian buffers, what we're trying to do with the trees, stormwater management, so that they had a little, you know, I want to give them something. I want to give them education and information in exchange for them giving us their time.
How was that received? Well, like,
Pretty
they
well.
had a good time?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
good.
think so.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna follow up with Becky, the woman at Episcopal, to hear how she thought it went. I want to make sure she's very satisfied and happy because I would love to cultivate this
That's great.
relationship.
Awesome, awesome.
Okay.
So on Saturday, I know Janet, Cindy and I will be there.
I am in a wedding in
Okay.
State College. Unfortunately, I need to leave tomorrow.
No worries,
morning.
no worries.
Okay.
If you can, listen, we want to make sure at this moment that we acknowledge how important Public Works is. Dave Hilbert and George have been very supportive of this program, so we're grateful. And Saturday should be a great day. I'm looking forward to all the wonderful things. All right, item number 10.5, discussion for content for our November e-newsletter. We did discuss having a salt alternative article for November. I was thinking, you know, it would be great, and I want to see which one of you lucky ones would love to do an article on holiday gift shopping and entertaining with sustainability in mind. So that's the article idea. And I'm thinking my two pro writers over here, one of you lucky souls.
I'm
gets-
churning them out.
Which one is
Yeah.
is this gonna go under Dave's? Because Joe has to do the minutes this month, so I think this is
Well,
gonna be a Dave
that's
issue.
fine.
Dave is down for the count.
Well,
Awesome.
Do you want me, to do the salt or,
No, you're gonna- I think-
sustainable holiday
I think
shopping?
the holiday
Okay.
holiday gift shopping, entertainment, and how we can keep sustainability in mind. And that's kind of looking at how you approach whatever holiday or lack of holiday, you're going into the winter season, and how can we be sustainable?
Read
And-
stuff in your house.
Yes. And they,
I said, read your stuff in your house.
that's a great one. Listen, my
My
son.
wife saves every piece of wrapping paper, every bag, every tissue.
God bless.
We have containers of them stacked. in
There you
my
go.
closet,
That's
so
good.
you'd be-
My
Yeah,
kids recognize the gift wrap.
yeah. It's like- Yeah,
That's sustainable. That's a good thing.
yeah.
All right, so that will be another one item. So Cindy, do we want to hold the salt for December since we can, yeah, December,
We're very,
that'll be,
I think we're very likely to get snow
Okay.
in November. I did, in remembering what we ran last year, would it be too late to put composting pumpkins?
we,
Well, they are gonna do that.
we won't put it in an e-newsletter. What we have to do is, you were going to get me the graphic from Garrett Williamson.
I'm waiting for
Yeah,
it. It's not ready
that
yet.
we can make that into a the township will do that as a Facebook and an Instagram.
They'll
But
do it social media, but not wait for the newsletter.
we can do it in the newsletter in addition, but by that time, people might have already
Thrown
thrown.
their
So we'll
pumpkins
cover
out.
both bases if
Okay.
you want to,
Yeah.
because I keep mine till Thanksgiving, but some people don't. So.
Yeah.
All right, so we could do the pumpkin, as you said. Another idea that we talked about, and I know Cindy, if you're busy with the wedding, we might not, we really want to think about explaining impervious coverage and repairing buffers to people in a way that they can relate to their own home. So a lot of times when people come in, these are residents who usually come into zoning and planning or ask for these waivers. And maybe they need to understand what it is. It's not just about, the township trying to give them a hard time. The reason why you want to not have, impervious surface and what's the alternative. And the understanding might help educate people instead of everyone just thinking, oh, the township's giving me a hard time because I can't get my patio, installed, instead of understanding what it does. So that would be an article or something. You want to take that one on?
And when would that be due?
We could, I think we will be due November 9th, if that's too, are you good with that?
When I
Okay.
get back, yeah.
Okay. And so that's 2, and with the pumpkin is 3. And I think one other idea would be, what else? Anyone else have an idea that's seasonal, that's appropriate, that's kind of, not just,
I think 3 is a good number.
yeah.
Well, not because I'm trying to get out of something.
Okay, no worries.
I'll
We
do
like
something
to,
for December.
okay, perfect. All right, great. And if we can, we usually throw in something about Green Business Coalition or something else, so we'll do that. All right, that's perfect. All right, item number 10.6. Discussion on the new stormwater ordinance regarding repairing buffers, wetlands, and the benefits of the environment. It was thrilling to see on Monday night, the Board of Supervisors unanimously approved the new stormwater code, which was, let me get the exact number, 143, I think. And that was really awesome because it shows their commitment to it. I was delighted to see that happening. I believe it's the 143 stormwater code, right, Cindy?
I don't know the number, but
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
it did get passed and we're very, very pleased about the township's support. of that.
Support of it, yes. And we do acknowledge that there's more work to be done and we will continue working on that effort. One thing we did also, which is very important, is that the indefinite protection of the ordinance. So it's not just when the person is going through land development, but every day, everybody is going to be compelled to that permit, which is awesome. Another thing from the supervisors meeting when they discussed this, which I thought was very important, is the AC had recommended them to codify putting in the wetlands management practices to be if it's less than 5 years. Right now, Peony, who was our latest engineer, had mentioned that they prefer to have a 1-year wetland delineations, but they do use them between 1 and 5, so it's up to the discretion of the professionals. And although Peony right now uses that, at one point we will look to codify that because we really want to just protection. Although our present engineering firm that is their best management practice as well. That was brought up, so that was something we can continue to work on. And I think that was a really good thing. Anything else on the stormwater ordinance or wetlands or anything that, and the benefits anyone discuss? Awesome. Item 11.1, update on possible discussion to support Sustainable Newtown Square Green Business Coalition. It has been set for Friday, March 7th at Dunwoody Village. Please mark your calendars. This is going to be a fabulous event. Also, Shoemaker Films will be providing us with some videotape for that, which will be awesome. Steve, regarding Shoemaker Films, I did want to ask you on Sustainable Newtown Square, the township video on your sustainability with you and starring Suzanne and Leonard. Did you approve that? And is that ready to go out to be shared?
I don't know that the board has reviewed it yet,
Okay.
but they will.
Okay, as soon as you can, let me know, because we would really love to push that out. And we will be meeting, I will be meeting with Dunwoody just to go sketch out our plans. And Dave, you'll be looped in on that one. And we will, our date is set and we're working for that. That's really exciting news, to be honest with you. All right, update and discussion on Shade Tree and EAC's Fall Tree Street program. The flags, Carol Wagner and I will be going out Saturday afternoon and Sunday to meet with residents to give out the flags and to encourage them to maybe think of where they want to place them and have that done. We'll make sure that every flag is out by the 24th of October because the township needs to call in advance. So we're in contact with Mara on that. So everything is going well for the street tree program. A lot of interest from community residents on this, Steve. Many other streets are asking me, when are they going to get their trees? And I mentioned that the township is very supportive of this program. And hopefully next year, this will be under Shade Tree's budget and it will be an item going forward.
And how many trees are going to be planted during
Right
this
now,
time?
it was 39, but I believe it's 38, but we're at 39 roughly is the
Okay.
number that we're holding to. Okay. Item 11.3, update on Birdtown, PA. Janet, take it away
All right.
on your Birdtown walk.
We had a wonderful bird walk at Garrett Williamson. Mike McGraw is always very
Superstar.
enlightening and compelling. And then from Birdtown, we also had Phil Whitmere, who is vice chair of Birdtown, PA. So he was there as well. I would say we didn't see as many birds as I thought we would have seen. A lot have already gone through.
Yeah, that's what I
Right,
heard.
Right,
The
but it was a
season
beautiful
peaked.
day.
The season peaked a little earlier this
I
year.
think so, yes,
Okay.
right. Although they say it goes into November. And then also with Birdtown, I will be tabling at Garrett Williamson for their festival, which is also on the 19th. So after planting a few trees, I'll go over there and put out my our Birdtown material and help residents with my favorite brochure is the one that suggests the best trees, shrubs, and plants.
Awesome.
So, you know, it's not a ton of pages. It's a little folding
Booklet's great.
booklet, and I watch people when I give it out. Let's see, I have one right here. One of these little ones. I watch people when I give it out, and they walk away, and they're
Yes.
they're studying
They're
it.
excited.
They are excited, so it's a good thing for our residents.
Sometimes
to
people
have.
like to have, we can't save the world, but just one little simple thing you can do. And it helps them realize, okay, I did this, I can do something else. So
Right.
it's not so overwhelming. That's awesome.
Yes.
Janet. Anything else in Birdtown?
Well, tonight they're having for bird leaders, it's called ornithotherapy, about
Ooh.
being in nature with birds and just helping you to relax.
Wonderful. Awesome. Okay, item 11.4, update on Gable tree maintenance. Cindy, you already mentioned this with the Episcopal Academy Students Public Works, so that's great. We've covered that. And item 11.5, EAC members, please share the lessons learned from our We Can Serve PA Regional Fall Gathering. I know the videotape of those conferences will go out to all the EAC members, but do you want to give some highlights from that? That was a full day of commitment that you gave, which was awesome. And
Well, it's always good to network, and the particular webinars or workshops that I sat in on, what I found the most interesting was the parking spaces that you have to have
Yeah.
for a business, which seems to be the Institute of Transportation Engineers Parking Generation Manual is the tool that's used for planners and transportation professionals, zoning boards and others. And when you would look at the number of parking places that are required
Yes.
in Lower Marion Township, they have more parking places than they have parks in terms of acreage. So there's a rethinking going on, and this manual is now, they said they've changed one important word, which is, this is a recommendation, which as opposed to a requirement.
That's
Oh,
great.
So,
That is great.
yes, right.
Well,
So-
especially because in light of shared driving services, not the young ones don't drive it. They have Uber, they have Lyft, they have a variety of things, they have
Yes.
public transportation. So, that's really good. Did they give any recommendations or any materials that we could use to share out to the community to make them aware of this? Because Steve, is there anything we can look to do that on that? Because I know a lot of times when you're, I think one property you did come back and said you left a portion of a parking lot is there if it's need to be, but you didn't necessarily want it developed, I believe. Was that was a parking, a development last month, I recall you brought that up.
Yeah, we bring that up regularly with developers. We ask them to, really look at what's needed versus, what our ordinance requires, but then we ask them to just leave the space for it. What I want to be careful of in the process is if we make the numbers less, but then allow people to develop more, we haven't really helped ourselves, right? So the win is when a developer doesn't build the lot number of spots that we require. So we've been doing that. I think we've done that on 3 or 4 projects over the last couple years. And I mean, I think it's been a benefit. We've had a couple that have had to go back and actually add them later just because of the need. But in most cases, they've been turned into green space where people are, doing a variety of things. One area is now a dog park instead. So there's options that are there that we continue to use. I had a developer in talking about doing a project, and we actually asked him about that very thing, saying our preference would be not to build spots that you don't need today, but that you put that land and reserve it, but know that if you need it, that you can build it later.
That's great.
Great,
That's
yes.
good to hear, Steve.
Yeah, and Steve, you do have those block alternatives where you can put you put the stones beneath, and then you have kind of like a cinder block that can provide grass in between, but it allows infiltration as additional alternatives. But if it's an opportunity for us to help educate the community about maybe doing it on their own property, that might be something we can consider, Cindy, in the spring.
Sure.
We need to do more than we're doing, especially when we're dealing with water on our properties. And as you have said many times, stormwater management is our biggest concern in the township. So all of us need to do everything we can on our property. Cindy, any other lessons learned from this conference?
Yeah, I would say that my major takeaway was that because I sat in on the parking, I sat in on some other ones, is that I believe the township has a real opportunity to become forward-looking and make itself a more resilient community when it embarks on its new comprehensive plan, which is going to start that process next year in 2025 for completion in 2026. And I understand that the strategic plan may be developed at the same time, but there were so many issues that were brought up there that I thought if the township casts a vision for thinking about this in a new way, thinking about parking in a new way, thinking about resilience in a new way. And that there was a theme of resilience at this conference because it was hosted at Temple's Ambler campus, which was their arboretum. They had a big school of horticulture, or do have a school. This arboretum was devastated about 3 or 4 years
Oh, yeah.
ago by a tornado that literally wiped out 95% of the trees. 95% of the trees. This was a heavily wooded campus, big old growth trees. And I think they said that it damaged almost every building on campus.
Right.
Several buildings had to be torn down. It
Wow.
was just, the damage there was monumental. And without getting into details, you know, the whole campus and university was, you know, just shook. But they picked themselves up and they said, okay, we're going to rebuild, but we're going to rethink. The climate is changing, the trees are changing, the water, the temperatures are changing, the rainfall patterns are changing. When we rebuild, we're not going to rebuild the old way. We're going to look out and ask ourselves, what trees are going to survive in 30 years when we have the temperatures and the rainfall of South Carolina? So they're planting trees that will thrive in
Right.
South Carolina
And
and
also,
not here.
Yes.
And it's that type of forward thinking that I think can permeate so much of what we do here and so much of the township code, like asking Boiron to please consider solar energy, you know, to think about EV charging stations, just to think about looking ahead. And so I think when the
Right.
township does its community, its comprehensive plan, and especially the natural resources element, I'm hoping they will be forward-looking. I don't know if the EAC is going to be part of that process. I've been told we're not. I'm told that the planning commission is going to do it, but I would
Wait,
like if
wait,
we
so
could at
the-
least
the
have
planning
review
commission-
or input.
Planning Commission will be,
We'll have a subcommittee or
subcommittee
task
on
force.
the comprehensive plan. Will the EAC be invited to give input on it, on that at all?
Well, I'm sure you know, the lead will be the planning commission. That's who leads the comprehensive plan. Because we're also intending to do the strategic plan with it, I think it's going to be broader. I think that it'll open it up for more of our committees to have input, and you know, it's always a public process.
Right.
So even if it's not directly EAC as a committee specifically related to a specific area, it will be through the process that we go through that you all will have an opportunity to give public comment as we go through, just like you would anytime. The plan is not laid out how we're going to do it yet.
Okay,
That'll be one of the things I'm actually talking with the board members over the next couple months, as we need to start hiring the consultant to do that, because it's going to be a pretty big project, and
Right.
I'm trying to bring in a consultant who has a broader thought process than just doing a comp plan and saying we're done.
awesome. And we would really encourage if we could have, you know, EAC representation in whatever form. We could obviously give input, but it would be important that you have individuals that are forward thinking, that are environmentally aware, that understand, because planning commission, you know, follows the rules and they follow the document, but it's important that they understand that every decision we make impacts us, our community, and residents downstream. And as you know, and I know, and all of us in the EAC know, stormwater is our biggest area. So everything we can do to help fortify our codes, our ordinance across the board, we would love to make sure that EAC, at least somebody with environmental preferences at that table, hopefully. All right. So since item number 12, public comments, since there's no public comment, that is an item. A couple things for November, ladies and gentlemen, November e-newsletter will be due on Saturday, November 9th at 8 a.m. It'll be published on November 15th. And the November agenda items will also be due Saturday, November 9th at 8 a.m. So that way we're on the same page for November, which is great. I think other than that, Dave, anything you want to add to that, buddy, before you hit that button? Anything you want to add to the,
No.
okay, Joe,
Nope.
Janet,
No, thank you.
Cindy?
Nope.
Meeting is adjourned. Woo-hoo!
An hour.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
Well, you know
Feel
what?
better, Steve.
Yeah.
Feel better,
Thank
Steve?
you. I am much better, thank you.